Hey, hello everyone. This is Christian Luderman here, and this video is called the Pragmatic Approach to Pull Requests. And here I will show you my approach to pull request after testing it on a lot of different companies with different cultures and different technological setups, and how you can really get a lot of extra throughput in your team by tuning this process. And here what we are going to cover: first, why pull requests; second, what does a pull request contain; pull requests versus pair programming; and the trap with pull requests that most fall in. So why do pull requests in the first place? We do pull requests to ensure better code quality by having others looking through the code. We make sure others are looking for our own blind spots. And by having this built into a process, we just make sure that the end result of the code quality is going to be better. The code design is going to be better. It's going to have less bugs. Then also by having this process ingrained in teams where you are sharing code, by making sure someone else than yourself is looking at it, that is a process that is making sure that you're not going to be the only one that knows about a specific part of the code base, but you're actually all the time sharing it with other teammates. So you're going to get a better track factor. You're going to make sure that other one can take over in case you are sick, or maybe you are having another job, and then it's not all just falling apart because there's one guy that knew the code. And it's also a gate before the master branch. So having this built in, that's how I like to do it, is that this is gating up to the master branch, which is in a continuous delivery setup, putting this directly to production. So we want to make sure we have some process that is gating this and make sure we put good code quality without bugs in production, and that we use the pull request to make sure that everything we want to make sure is good is being checked and reviewed before it goes live. And then let's have a look at the paradigm between pull request and pair programming, which both are popular techniques that are used in modern software development, and they have some overlap and they also have some different purposes. First, you should always do pull request or code review of your code. That is regardless of you're doing stream programming and you're doing pair programming. By having it in a pull request, you make sure it's get documented, and you make sure that you have some other way of for other people to be involved in the conversation about the code, regardless of you being two people that already have looked at the code together. Sometimes pull request alone can be too slow because there's some benefits of the asynchronous communication, but it has lower bandwidth than synchronous. If you need some discussion, let's say about architectural stuff or stuff that might have big consequences for the code base, you might want to have it more like a live talk, or at least could be a phone call or stuff like that, where it's just faster to communicate and discuss ideas. And it's also easy pull request review if the code has been written as pair programming. So what I recommend is that we have some code that is really changing a lot of architectural of the architecture of the application. Then you want to do that as pair programming first, because then you get the early feedback And then you can, after this, create the pull request, and there shouldn't be too much of surprises in the pull request because you already have had another teammate looking at the code and developing with you. So I recommend do that for changes that have architectural changes, or something that just has big consequences are hard to change later, because we want the early feedback. We don't want that we create some pull request and then we got told to completely rewrite it. That's pretty much the worst thing you want. And also, if there's something that contains a risky area, you might also want to do it as pair programming, as there's less risk for bugs and such in a risky area of the critical area of the application. And then there's something called pair reviews. I don't know if that's a real term, it's just something that I made up, but it's actually something somewhere in the middle, because sometimes you can write the code in separation, but because there's a lot of to talk about in the review, let's say you found that you need to write like 30 or 40 comments to go through a pull request. It might be better just to go on a Skype call and then just go through it and just fix everything in one go, so you don't have too much back and forth, because back and forth can really take up days. And then what I find as a golden middle way is that for your normal work that's not doing crazy changes to the architecture, you can do the code separately, because you already had some early discussion about it in the grooming session. But then you come to the review. If they are not like really very simple changes, you do it as pair reviews, because then you make sure that the knowledge gets transferred good. You have good bandwidth when you are transferring the knowledge, and you can do discussions and such in a faster and easier way, so you avoid the pull requests that are dragging over for days. And then there's one trap with pull requests that most fall in, and that is having pull requests open for too long. Simply too long. It could be like weeks, it could sometimes be months that it just hangs on because there's some ongoing discussion. And normally you could fix that by doing the points I just mentioned. But again, if it's something that is very complex or very architectural, has big consequences for the code base, pair programming and reviews early will handle a lot of that, so you don't spend time creating some stuff that will just hang on for weeks and weeks. So that's just could be in the grooming phase. When you create the tasks, you put some measurement on the task for measure the complexity, and if it's on a specific complexity, you decide to do it as pair programming, because then you can simply do the task faster. And then also in the pull request, try to be pragmatic. You don't want to be the guy that fights religious wars and all of that. And my point of view is that you just decide on some code. If it's not really has any big benefits, you just decide on some way to do it, and then just use automation like TSLint and Prettier to just automate it. And here's what I invite you to do next. Before you start coding, evaluate your way of working. So evaluate if the work is best done separately, or if closer collaboration is needed, if you need to do it as pair programming. You do the work, and then you ask for feedback early. Let's say that you want to do it separately, but you then find out there's these and these and these things. And then I really recommend that you just go to the person that you find can answer the question, and then you just get the feedback early, so you don't push it all to the pull request, as you might need to redo it. And then at the pull request, do the pull request as pair review if it's complex. So it could be like your magic number if it's contains more than 10 comments, then you do a peer review. If you just sense that you might want to share some knowledge on this part, you do the peer review. So you just try to test out, and normally you will find out if it's complex. You can go by way faster than doing a peer review and even doing the changes as pair programming right on the spot. So that's what I had for you for this video. And remember, feedback from pull request is the biggest gift you can get as a software developer. And appreciate it and say thank you.